I took one sip of the sangria and
You're losing it.
no. I just I'm very warm right now because the sangria.
It's warm in here.
No, the sangria made me warmer. However warm you feel,
multiply that.
I'm about 15 degrees warmer than you. Thanks to this. Mind you, want to hear the biggest joke? I made it. So I can't even blame anybody but myself for why it's
you
so
made
strong.
That?
Yeah. We had a new moon ceremony last night. You could, oh my God, we should have invited you. It was a new moon ceremony. It was me, Brittany Hall, a couple folks from Rap Shit. It was a time. Jonica.
I love Jonica.
Jonica's so
a good
fun.
Friend of mine.
Yeah, and she thought she was showing up for a birthday party and didn't read the invite correctly.
I'm done. So she came all bedazzled.
She came looking like Cat Daddy, thinking she was going to a birthday party, and ended up in a group therapy session for a new moon ceremony. By the end, we were all crying. She's like, I ain't coming to cry. Like, it was a lot. It was a lot. But now that I think about the next time we do one.
I'm there.
Because Brittany literally just texted me, you need to do it again. You should have been there.
I should have.
You're going to be there next time.
I will.
So the glasses.
Okay, yeah. So
this is the thing. You sat down. I was already tipsy from accidentally giving myself too much alcohol. And then you had these glasses.
Yeah.
This is how rumors get started. Okay. Explain the glasses to the audience.
Okay, so I'm nearsighted.
Oh, okay.
Extremely nearsighted.
What does that mean, nearsighted?
That means I can't see far away.
Okay, got it.
Like at all. So even though I'm like in front of you, you would be blurry and I would be squinting. But every pair of glasses I own, including all of my sunglasses, have prescription lenses.
Got it.
And today getting here was a time. And so I was like, okay, so I grabbed these because they were on the kitchen counter.
And they're cute for outside and running errands.
Thank you. Yeah, they're Tom Ford. And
that's a flex, y'all. That's the first flex of the show.
And they were on the counter. I'm on a glycemic diet. I'm juicing all my food. No alcohol, no cigarettes for 60 days.
But you look so luscious right now.
I know. We'll get into that. But
okay.
but I was rushing. So my allergies have been kicking my ass. Mm-hmm. I got up. I've been sleeping crazy because I'm afraid to go to sleep because I felt like I would stop breathing. Like my breathing has just been that labored.
Oh, that's
so
real.
Yesterday I was finally like able to breathe, and I was just like, so my sleep though was crazy. I was so tired because I haven't been sleeping. Mm-hmm. And I woke up at 8, fed the dog, put the dog out, prepped all my stuff to juice, sat down, fell back asleep. Got up at 12:30 and I was like, shit, my interview. Uh-huh. And I was like, but I'm starving. So when you text me finally, I went and got my computer to see how far I had to go. Email wasn't even there. Something's going on with my emails.
So you had a day.
A day. So when I text you and I didn't hear anything back, I was like, I know you had your dental stuff. So I was like, maybe she's still under the weather, hopefully. And I don't hear anything. And then in the middle of me pressing my new batch of watermelons, child. My phone says ding ding and it's you.
Like,
and
hey girl.
Yeah, I'm like, shit. So now I'm trying to hurry up and get ready. I forgot to put the spout back on. Watermelon juice flies everywhere.
Wow.
And in my panic, I knocked over a giant bowl of watermelon juice over the entire floor. Now here comes the husky. And he's
if I was a dog, I'd be excited.
Lapping it up. Now he's red. I'm like, I had to put him out. And then on my way out, after I clean everything up, here comes the gardener. So now I have to go back out in the backyard. As I'm like pulling down my street, the gardener's pulling up. And I'm like, Jesus Christ.
Girl.
So I busted a U-turn. And I was like, oh, I forgot Blue's book. I forgot your book on my counter.
Did you go back and get it?
No. So I went. Shit. So I turned around.
You saw how excited I got. You were like, yeah, no, girl.
So I turned around. And I looked at the time, and it was 1:48, and I was like, oh, my God. So I throw the dog, not literally throw the dog, PETA, but I grab the dog and, like, hurry him into the crate, right? Because I'm like, I'm going to have to bathe him when I get home. He should stay outside.
Covered in watermelon juice.
He's covered in watermelon juice. And child, put the dog in the crate, latched all 3 latches, and turned right back around and left. Got to the freeway and was like, her book. And at this point, it's 1:52. So I'm like, girl, Blue, I'm gonna have to Uber you your book later on, child.
No,
I just had to get here.
The day, I'm happy you made it. First of all, because that just shows how much you actually cared about being here. Yeah. You and the Tom Ford shade. So before anybody starts any rumors, because I know y'all like to start rumors.
And I could take my glasses off. I just don't want to squint. You know, so she's sober. She doesn't have any lashes.
Your skin looks great.
Thank you. And I was worried about that. No makeup, child.
No. You have glass skin. Are you serious?
No, I've been trying to restore it. It's been a time.
Let me see. If your skin is restored, then I need to not be here because I need you to.
No, you have beautiful
skin.
So
here's the thing that's so interesting is, I love the way you currently look. It looks good on you.
Thank you.
But I recently saw that you were on another pod where you were talking about how like you didn't love it.
Yeah,
and that's a fascinating thing when you look good to others, but it doesn't feel good to you. Yeah. How do you reconcile the fact that we like it and you don't?
I don't care.
Oh shit!
I love y'all.
Moniece said, "Fuck y'all feel."
You got to understand, I've never been more than 110 my whole life.
110 American pounds.
So to be 100 as of last week, 161.2.
That's like my goal weight. Are you kidding me?
I just can't. I can't do it.
But girl,
I went from
but you don't see how nicely it's like packed in the right places.
It's not.
You're not built like an iPhone.
It's not. No, this is the thing. This is the thing. Okay.
Okay, unpack this for me while I give you the side eye.
I've been trying, right? I want to see you. Okay, so I've learned how to hide it.
Okay.
So I think the last time I saw you in person was Cardi's party.
Yes, you were sitting on my lap the whole night because there was no chairs.
Correct. So,
and that was about
that was a time.
You were very small.
I was thin, and I started to gain weight, and suspected that I was pregnant, but didn't know for sure.
Wow.
And so I found out for sure later on.
How long after that did you find out?
A little less than a month. So before it might have been longer than that.
So you were pregnant that night?
Yes.
You are now like the fourth person who's been around me, and the last time I saw them, they didn't know they were pregnant. And I'm just like,
yeah.
Am I like a fertility god who just shows up when somebody's with child and doesn't know?
I didn't know. And so obviously we've all seen the debacle, and I really don't want to dredge it up. It's all in the book.
Yeah.
But gaining the weight, and I don't even want to say it, but
why not?
Because I feel like if I'm not ready. But anyway, so after the pregnancy, I just got depressed.
That's real.
And I'm older now. I just turned 36.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
When's your birthday?
March 4th.
So you are a
Pisces.
That's amazing because Pisces are known for having all the feelings.
I do.
You're the last sign, so you're the leftovers of all the other signs. So you have every feeling.
I am very much, and people throw the word empath around, and I hate that for me.
Yeah. But you're an actual empath,
real life.
I've been around you enough to be like you're an actual empath.
Yeah. And my dad used to tell me when I was a kid, and I didn't know what it meant. And
really?
The best way he explained it to me, and it never left me. He said, you are someone who adopts other people's feelings without knowing it and without intentionally doing so. Yep. But you also have the power to walk into a room and without knowing it and without intentionally doing so, shift the energy. And if you're having a bad day, whether you mean for everyone else to have a bad day or not, everyone is going to have a bad day. If you walk into the room and you're having a great day, whether you know it or not, everyone's going to have a great day. And he said, and musically, that will work in your favor if you can learn to regulate your emotions. And when you feel like you can't regulate your emotions, you are a great writer and a storyteller. Just write it down.
Your father said all this.
Yeah, and I was like, I was young.
How the hell was he equipped with that language? Because that's a very evolved way. Like, let's not act like that's a regular thing for a father to say to their daughter. Right. It's a very evolved way for a parent, let alone a male parent, to recognize, acknowledge, and encapsulate what's happening with their child.
You would actually have to know my dad, and to understand him, you'd actually have to know my grandmother. Shout out to Nana. To know how he became that way. But
that's not typical what he said to you and the way that he said it. That's not normal.
No, it's not.
But it's a blessing, though.
Very much so. So I carried that with me, and the emotional regulation part at my big age, I'm still learning. I still slip and fall short, and
God's still working on both of us, friend.
Indeed he is. And there's a couple people I got to fuck up before I get back to righteousness.
Can we just start right here, right? Because the show's called Humanized, right? The entire point of the show is to humanize big personalities, big topics. One of my first guests was Jason Lee. Bridget Kelly's come on. A bunch of people who I'm now recognizing. Like, that's a lot of Love and Hip Hop folks. I did not realize that I was creating a space where people from Love and Hip Hop were showing up so much. But I was excited about having you on because I feel like I'm always defending you. And I was
You are, and I love you for that.
Before I even
Thank
met
you.
you, I'm like, y'all need to understand this because I think maybe it's an empath thing. Now that you're explaining that your father knew that you were an empath, I was like, maybe that's it. Because there's a difference between someone who's having a strong emotion that they're working to regulate versus someone who is lying. And the thing that's always bothered me is how much people try to gaslight you out of your reality that's probably more on point than theirs simply because you have a little bass in your voice. And I can relate to that. And so I always said, Moniece, you can feel however the fuck you want about her. That girl is not a liar. Like I tell everybody and their mother, tell me when was the last time she lied. Come on, go ahead, point it out to me. And people start stuttering.
And I wanna be very clear.
Yeah.
Because I saw someone in particular who was under every post every time I'm in a blog. And they drive me nuts. And they recently posted and said, or commented and said, I'm the most non-victim victim that they've ever seen and I never take accountability. Wow. So let's just start here, loud and clear. And I hope this particular portion of this interview goes viral because I take accountability at all times. Now, I've not been the most honest mother, woman, friend, daughter, sister, parent, person in general. Okay? Everyone has lied.
Yes.
I in my last couple of years got into this space of normalizing lying to motherfuckers that don't belong in my business. And that's there's a difference.
That's an important point of nuance.
Yeah, and everyone's like, how are you mad that people are asking about your pregnancy? You went to the internet. Well, I've said several times, and I feel like people just don't want to hear it. They're not missing it. They're not listening with the intention of understanding me or why I do things the way that I do or what pushed me to that point. Now, it was brought to my attention that someone else was going to leak my pregnancy news.
Got it.
And at first that didn't shake me, faze me, rock me. Then I was on multiple three-way calls like you do when you're in junior high and high school. And the person didn't know. And I recorded those conversations.
Wow.
I heard it with my own 2 ears and recorded them. Now, in the state of California, we are a reciprocity state, which means you have to inform someone in order for that recording to hold any legal basis. You have to inform that person that they are either and or being visually or audibly recorded. And obviously if this individual knew that, one, they would have never gotten on the phone. Two, they would have never said what they said and been honest. And so I've never leaked those. But I am in possession of those. And not just on...
Oh, wow.
Yeah, not just on one phone, but I then downloaded that to my email and then I saved that to a file on the computer and then I saved that to a 1 terabyte Lacy hard drive.
Wait, do they know this?
Yes, they're aware. And so what they did was file a bogus restraining order, which was dismissed because they didn't show up. Then they started calling me that night. Then they started going to my parents. Then they started screenshotting our conversations and cropping and sending to my parents. And then when I would counter, I was being told, like, you send me one more text and I'll block you. That was from family. So
what was the intention of this person doing all of this?
They were lying the entire relationship. They were, and, had jumped out of a relationship with me after I left and gone into a relationship with the person they had told me was their god sister. And so to make me seem like I was crazy, like I was lying, the first restraining order was filed. Well, they didn't show up. It was dismissed. I was then asked if I wanted some dick. I said no.
Wait.
Yeah. Yeah, by said individual.
Okay, I don't mean to laugh because it's very serious.
It is.
I was not expecting it. Why do people find the ability to offer dick in the middle of the most random situations?
I don't know. And so
I'm gonna blow up your life, but by the way, on my way home, do you want some dick? Like, are you serious?
Yeah,
it's
he
the
was
audacity
serious.
for me.
Yeah, it must have been on clearance.
Not clearance dick.
Yes.
Is that what we're calling the episode?
It was clearance dick. And so I declined the offer, and 2 weeks later I was served with a new restraining order.
Wow.
Now, when we got to court, I lost my entire fucking mind.
Yeah.
I mean, when I say zero emotional regulation, they weren't going to be granted the restraining order. I couldn't control my temper or my mouth. And I was mad. And so mad that I was kicked out of the courtroom.
Oh, wait. You made a scene is what you're saying.
It was just us, but I lost it. Lie after lie. I just couldn't take anymore.
Yeah.
And so I lost it, and they kicked me out of the courtroom. And then my lawyer came out and was like, well, they've granted the order. I said, appeal this shit.
Wait, do you understand this is the beginning of a sitcom, right? Like
Yeah.
they show you being pulled
can't-
out the courtroom.
No one pulled me out, but the bailiff definitely was on my bumper for sure. And after the door closed, I heard click, 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 click.
And then there's a pause and narrative says, you're probably wondering how I got here.
Right.
you're like in one of those
and then a
shows.
rewind, and then it's me exploding in the courtroom. So
But even when here's the thing that I love about you in the moment we just had. I was talking about how when I'm watching the show and I'm watching things that are happening, I was watching you get gaslit. You're so honest, even though you're not giving yourself full credit for that, that even when someone's painting you in broad strokes in a complimentary way, you still feel the desire to point out the nuances so that you can like be clear that you're not perfect. There's an integrity in that moment. I don't think you fully recognize sometimes how much integrity you show up with because it doesn't come up in a pretty Oprah, like Gandhi kind of box. But you have a lot of integrity, more than a lot of people.
Thank you, because that I am very well aware of.
Yeah.
I'm very well aware. And again, I'm not perfect. I make mistakes. I've been toxic to people that I've been in a relationship with and loved, my own and my family. Yeah. I've been a toxic co-parent, which makes me a toxic parent, right? Yeah. But my desire to actually be better, even on my worst day. Yeah. And I just made a post about this yesterday. You know, I hate the victim label that people like to give me, because if you just look at my track record, it is the total
Victims
opposite
don't swing like you.
Of a victim.
Yeah,
and
you are not a victim,
I say,
babe.
It's like, for instance, if I were such a victim, one, I wouldn't be here. Yeah. Two, the people that label me the victim based off of what they see, and again, we have to take accountability in that. You know, I've been judged based off of a reality show, but I did those things. I said those things. Yes, those were extenuating circumstances, but we can't negate that I displayed that behavior. Okay, so that's ownership and accountability. I get it.
Which is rare, and especially in the reality show sector, because people love to blame the edit. Guys, I just realized that we jumped into the conversation so quickly.
Did we?
For those who don't recognize the voice, no, I just want to give you your flowers real quick. This is a singer, reality star, mother, and relentless truth teller. I'm still going to give you that moniker, Moniece Slaughter, because I think that you are someone who represents so many women who people see as an easy mark, and you make it really inconvenient for people to shit on you. And I think that's why so many people are low-key scared of you and trying to rob you of your reality. They're like, she just won't die. Like, it doesn't matter what comes at you bounce back up.
And that is what I said in my caption yesterday when I made that post. If I were, y'all want to see me jump. Yeah. Y'all want to see me shrivel, and y'all want to see me miserable all my life long. Y'all want to see me unhappy. Y'all want to see me unhinged. And so a victim, right, gives into those things. A victim wallows. A victim stays there, right? And the other side of that is the only petty bone I now have in my body is to stay alive and fucking thrive, just to piss the rest of you off. Even on days where I feel like if I went to sleep and God called me home, I would be okay with that. Even knowing that I probably wouldn't get into heaven. Okay, so let's just put it that way.
Might.
No, we got to be realistic.
There might be a mezzanine between heaven and hell. I feel like there has to be a mezzanine for some of us.
You know, just the way that I was raised and what I believe in, it's black and white. And I wouldn't be going to heaven. If I lay down and close my eyes and the Lord called me tonight, unfortunately, I'd be right here because hell is on earth. Come Judgment Day.
Bars.
Come Judgment Day, and we're all standing on the judgment line, and he looks at us. And I would be one that I don't know who you are. That would be my reality right now. But a victim it would be over for me, you know, at this point. And I just refuse because y'all hate me so much. I'm not going to die slowly.
She said, I'm going to thrive
to thrive just to spite you. So I'm very much that person. Yeah. And I'm going to come out on the other side of this I have proof of pregnancy. I have all those things. And at the height of all that, I was talking to one of my mentors, and I was going to pee on a stick on live. And she said,
Moniece.
I was.
The way you say these stuff casually.
Because I was. And she was like, why? They're going to say that you literally manipulated the stick. They're going to say, this is a big, big person. And she literally was like, if you did that, they would say you got somebody else's pee. You opened one stick, but you already dipped another stick in the, like, it wasn't going to matter. You could show your ultrasounds. They'd say you got it from Google. Like, at this point, they are committed to not believing you. Mm-hmm. They could look at you and know that you went from in a GIF, in a second. I mean, I went to sleep one size and woke up another size. And they'll say that it's not what it is. You didn't gain that weight because of that. And you have to remember, well, not remember, but a lot of people that I could trust saw me, watched my stomach move, like it like in court. I mean, in court, the bitch broke down looking at my stomach when I took my shout out to H&M. That oversized blazer got me through a lot. But she broke down in tears because she's not pregnant. And then here I am.
Clearly.
19 weeks.
Yeah. Wow.
And
at that point, it's undeniable.
And with Cameron, I wasn't the size I was this time. I wasn't that size with Cameron until I was about 7 months.
And like you said, you're much older and your body does interesting things.
And
I hate the term geriatric pregnancy.
Yeah, that's how I felt.
I have a friend who's being induced in labor today, actually. And
shout out to her.
Yeah, and she is 42.
Oh my God.
Girl, sit up. She's going to see this. And I was just like, and I went to her last sonogram with her. Mm-hmm. And and I just kept on thinking, geriatric pregnancy. It's a strong language. Y'all couldn't find no other way to say this?
No.
It feels demoralizing to be told you're having a geriatric pregnancy when you still think you cute and popping, and you know what I mean? Like,
you could be cute and popping, but you're geriatric.
Don't do that. And here's the thing that I have to ask you, because when Richard and I talk, I love her. And she actually was supposed to be here today, but she got a nice little gig singing the national anthem for the Knicks, so she's excited. She has so much PTSD around being on Love and Hip Hop. Mm-hmm. How do you, first of all, I want to know what made you decide to do the show? Mm-hmm. Because it's a crapshoot how you're going to be treated, especially in the edit.
I didn't.
You didn't. So what made you decide to choose the show, and how do you feel about it in the distance now, in the aftermath of it?
I have a love-hate relationship just overall with the show.
Okay.
So we can start with that. 1. 2, I did the show because, first of all, this is crazy. So I had heard that they were filming in LA. And
did you know who was cast by when you heard about it?
I knew that Eric Bellinger at the time,
amazing
and
voice.
His ex, Christina Moore, they were on the show. I knew that Tank and Zena were potentials. I don't know whatever happened with that. I know that Joy, and I hope I'm saying her name, I don't know if it's Joy or Joey, Chavez.
Yes, Joy Chavez. Yeah.
Okay, she was on the show.
That's an amazing lineup.
Yeah, and then there was Tiara. I'm not going to say the other person's name because child fuck her. But Morgan Hardman, Ray J, Princess. Like, so, and we all knew each other.
In real life.
In real life. So, Miss Diddy, Sincere. And so we were part, and Omarion, and at the time I didn't know April, but April. And we were part.
I love how Omarion was Eddie, and by the way, Omarion.
Yeah, and because it was so fleeting. I think they were there for what, 2 seasons?
Yeah, they were.
Yeah, and so long story long, I guess Omari, they were doing a recast, which happens every season, halfway through. People that you think are gonna, they're larger than life, in-person personalities don't translate like that on camera. Mm-hmm. They don't want to open up. They shut down, and so it doesn't work, right? And now here's this recast. I'm at the time living at home, sleeping on my parents' couch. I've got a clerical job, walking to and from work.
Are you serious?
Mm-hmm. And I had a little Metro PCS slide, like up and down phone that had like minutes.
Friend, what year was this?
2014.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Stunning honesty. You guys see why I love her?
I've told this story before.
But my audience knows me, and those who are not fully aware of why I fucks with you, they're gonna be like, oh, that's why Boo likes her. This girl is not playing.
Yeah. So I was walking to the grocery store, and I got a call from Lisa Lee King, the casting director, and she's giving me these, she's telling me my number came across her desk, and she's giving me these, like, she's telling me about the show.
She's selling you on it.
But she's not said what the name of the show is. And I said, is this Love and Hip Hop Hollywood? And she goes, how did you know?
Oh.
And so I tell her, not in a mean way, but she was just like, I haven't said anything. And so I told her who I knew and what I had heard. And she was like, okay. And I said, and how'd you get my number? Because no one had that number.
How did she get it?
She got it from Drew. And he did not tell me. And so I get this call.
The irony.
I get this call, and I get back home, and I tell my parents, and then I call Drew, and I'm like, did you give my number to the casting people for 11 Hip Hop? And he was like, yeah. I said, why? And he was like, well, I just felt like it would be a good opportunity. You could revamp your music career,
It's giving
blah, 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 blah.
But okay.
Right. And so
it's
at the time, I'm not knowing this.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not knowing that I'm being put up on the chopping block as the sacrificial lamb.
Very much sacrificial lamb.
And they will say that I'm a victim, but I don't care. I was completely unknowing. Now, my father is a 10-time Grammy Award-winning gospel singer. When I was...
That's where you get your voice from.
Well, he's not my biological dad.
Okay.
So this is
so music is just all around you biologically and otherwise.
Yes.
Oh, nice.
So, we're not knowing that this is, reality TV at this time was still like new. Mm-hmm. Not really, because, Ray J was like one of the first people to do it.
He's so good.
And he's so great at it,
so
right?
At it.
But I'd never done that. So I didn't know how this was going to work.
You were going to be an archetype and not a person.
Yeah, I just thought I was going to go on there and live my life and, whatever. And so I grew up just like Drew in the era when we were signed and we were in groups and we didn't have social media. Mm-hmm. And when we took label meetings, we went into the label. But before that, leading up to that big meeting day, right, our shopping day, we were running on the track, singing, vomiting. We were in training. We were being physically trained. We had vocal lessons. You were working.
It's giving making the band.
It was very much so that in real life, right? And so I noticed that, hey, this might help me musically, right? Because the game was shifting. Everybody was blowing up from YouTube, and I just was never into like all that, Mm-hmm. So
you were super naive in all this.
Yeah, I didn't want to do it, and I went in for the first meeting and said I didn't want to do it. And then all of a sudden, now I'm getting pictures of Cameron when he's with his dad. Now all of a sudden, Drew is making sure Cameron is calling me before bed. Now all of a sudden, it's, hey, I know you're, at your parents, and sometimes they don't, allow you to make the schedule with Cam, but Cam and I are going to go to the park. Do you want to meet us? Hey.
Oh, so he was grooming you.
Yeah, buttering me up per se. And so I went back in for the second meeting. Only because when they called me, I said, I don't want to do it. And something tells me that he's going to flip on me. And they were like, no, just come back in. So I went back in. They said, he told us you guys have joint custody. He told us that you guys are co-parenting. He told us that, you guys get along, you have your issues or whatever. But, he didn't say anything negative about you, yada, 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 yada. We just want to shoot a test scene. Well, that test scene ended up being season 1, episode 1, scene 2.
Oh my, are you serious?
Yeah.
Your test scene.
Ended up being episode 1 of season 1, and it was the second scene. So Omari had given Drew the opportunity, and then Drew brought me in, and this is the first time now that I have found out that he's in a relationship and had been for years. So this whole bitter baby mama, I'm so in love with my baby daddy, if that were the case, I would have known about this other woman years ago. Now, to my credit,
I'm stunned right now.
and this is where I am going to pat myself on the back. We being my family, never got Cameron back from a visit with his dad. So who were you around? Did you meet? So Cameron never said anything to any of us. I had heard mention of her one time years prior through Cameron, but he called her Manu. And I was not thinking of a person. I thought he made this person up. I've never seen her, not at his games, not at anything. And then his birthday party, his like third or fourth birthday party, she was there, but she wasn't introduced as Manu. She was introduced as, this is my girlfriend. So again, even though I had met her and I had heard mention of her, I did not know that Manu was the girlfriend, was Amanda, had been in the family for 2 years, right? So when I met her,
the fuck out. That's a blind side.
Yeah, when I met her at his birthday party, I didn't know that, and that was a year prior. I didn't know that was the same girl that I was filming with. That was also the same girl that Cameron had mentioned a year before I met her as Manu. That one time, it just was fleeting.
I have a question real quick. He sounds like a Disney villain. I'm not going to hold you, right? Like, and so it's very dastardly. I'm waiting for him to twirl his handlebar mustache. And so I'm wondering, why move so funny? Like, why does he move so funny with you? Because that's the one thing that always stuck out. I was like, he acts weird around her in a way that feels calculated, but not in a good way. Like he's calculating, but he's not carrying the one and he's a calculator. And so you can tell there's an attempt being made.
Correct.
And whether he's successful or not, the attempt is clearly being made. And why you? What is it about you, do you think, that makes you seem like an easy target for him in that way?
I think because I think he thought that home life was one way. Mm-hmm. A lot of people do until they experience the home life and then they go, okay, all right. And not that my home life was totally shitty, but come on, let's not act like we all don't know that there's this contentious source. A lot of me and my mom don't have a good relationship. We never have. Mm-hmm. We probably never will. So, you know, but
she was the weak link, is what you're saying.
She can make you believe that I just was a shitty parent. Didn't want to be there, blah, 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 blah. But I also got kicked out season 1. And so, yeah, so that made it easier. And then there's the infamous scene season 2 where she tells him to take me to court, take full custody, file for child support, and pay for help.
That's hurtful.
And so
really
I guess she alleges that she had told him the same thing as well. But it was in that moment that he realized, okay, maybe you don't have the support that I thought you had, that I was being told you had, that maybe even looked one way to me when I was a part of your family. And so I think he was very bitter. I think he thought that I just didn't want to be there. But even that, like, I wasn't just all over the place. Like he was
harshly judging you, not realizing that you didn't have the resources that he thought you had.
Yeah. And so the first season I was still on the bus.
The first season of you being on a VH1 show that would go on to be very popular, you were still taking the bus. Girl, I
didn't get to start saving and get out of debt. Like I had worked I was getting out of debt season 1, season 2. I didn't really start saving my money till season 3.
Did they pay you well? Did they pay you well
as the time went on? The season 1, knowing what I know now, no.
Okay.
But it was still good. And then season 3, I really got to start to stack my bread, and still wasn't easy. I still had financial droughts for sure. That's
this industry.
Yeah. And so I think that he just, to close that segment, I think that he just felt like I had it easy and I was just putting my parental responsibility on him by choice, and that just wasn't the case. And so I think there was a lot of bitterness, and it was an I'm gonna get you sucker. And then it turned into, without him ever saying it, you know what this is. It's not like, I really hate you in real life, so just go with it.
This
type
is just
thing.
Content, smile long and cash your check like the rest of us. Yeah.
But you are blindsiding me. And so now what happens is like you said, you're not carrying the one, and you probably need a calculator. But now here's where my intuition and my insight kicks in, and my ability to hold it together if I have an agenda. So if I know I have an agenda, because now I'm on to you. And this is a cycle. You apologize on camera. Off camera, you go back to being a piece of shit. You never meant the apology, so why even give it?
And now you look bitter for not receiving a fake apology.
Correct. And now 3 seasons in, I see what this is. So every season, I'm going to have to fight a new co-parenting war. He's going to wage war because that's the only thing that we can fight about is Cameron.
I feel like you were his storyline up until he got with April. I feel like you were constantly being fuel for him to even justify him being there.
But then look at how much smaller his role got over time.
It did.
As I became a bigger figure and staple.
Do you think he felt blindsided that you ended up being
I think he didn't
a bigger
like
star in the show than he did?
I don't think he liked that because he would say things like, he gave me the platform. But here's the thing. Take it all the way back to that second meeting.
Omarion said he was sleeping somewhere funky. Like Omarion said recently that he didn't have it together.
He was living with his mom, but I'm not going to be shady because I was living with my parents
No,
too.
but I'm saying like to judge you when you guys are going through equitable moments of transition to me. But it's fucked up to me.
But his mom, what it was and still is, when he needs her, she is right there.
Okay.
You know, so it was different. He couldn't fathom my parents not dropping everything to be hands-on grandparents in support of me the way that his mom was, which is why he said in that scene when he broke down, I didn't have a dad and I'm doing it. And, you know, I don't know where I would be if I didn't have my mom. Do you understand? And she said, that's when she, you know, gave him a hug and said, what you're asking of me, I can't do because I've done it already. In other words, my kids are grown. I don't want to sacrifice for the sake of my grandchild on behalf of my daughter, who I kicked out and needs, you know, and you need the extra support. So you take her to court, you get child support, you pay for help. But ironically, my mother had live-in help.
You know what I'm thinking as you're talking about this is that this episode is airing right around Mother's Day.
Oh no. Abort. I
have questions around to be a mom and to be trying to figure out how to do it the best you can when you didn't have what you needed. And to be judged so harshly on your motherhood year after year after year. That has to be hurtful and a lot triggering, right? How do you reconcile your feelings around motherhood considering you're constantly being robbed of the ability to like feel proud about it without someone wanting to like jump in and add their 2 cents? To me, that would be maddening.
Oh yeah, I get very angry. Yeah. But you know what? My son is older. He's me. So that meaning like that mouth. So
does he get it? Is he in on the joke? Does he see what they're doing, or does he sometimes you have to like have a conversation, and be like, I need you to know what's wrong, what's not?
No, because I do a very good job for the most part, and again, I'm not perfect, so I've failed at times at censoring him from adult life and preserving his or adult content and conversations and preserving his innocence at time. And so the older he got, my dad and I did have a discussion with him about depression and what that is.
You guys did?
Yeah, we
How
had
old is he now?
He's 13 now.
And
You've
already had that conversation with him and he's only 13?
I had to. So that was season 6, I think. 5 or 6 when I had a moment. And no, that was season 6. And he said, I don't understand why I can't just have a normal mom. That was when, or that was season 5. I don't know, 5 or 6. And that was when we had to have the conversation because he was and he said, she only gets frustrated when I come home. So he was internalizing that as she gets frustrated and she's sleepy and she's stressed and she's overwhelmed when I come home because he's not there with me that other week. So he doesn't know that the little bit that I am able to do wasn't even being done I wasn't eating when he wasn't home. I wasn't sleeping when he wasn't home. I wasn't getting up when he wasn't home. And so he doesn't know that,
Yeah.
So all he sees is, I pick him up from school, I order food, I stop and I pick up food, I sleep, I get up, I check on him. And, now we're at practice or now, we're getting ready for bed and now we wake up and we do it all over again tomorrow, but I have no energy. I'm not fun. I feel like I'm going to sneeze.
Let it out. And a lot of the things that you're saying, it's so funny because there's a lot of people who are listening to this who are like, well, girl, sounds like me. And they don't realize that they might be high functioning depressed, that they are.
Oh, I'm low functioning. I do not function.
A lot of
at
folks
all.
don't realize that the depression doesn't always just look like I want to jump into the river. It's just like I'm just kind of dragging myself through life, and they normalize that behavior.
Right.
And I have a question. Are you in any way regretful of being on that show? Or are you in a space where you can reconcile that you got enough from it to have made it worth it?
Well, to wrap Cam up, Cam and I don't have to have those conversations with him about what's real and what's not.
13 in the Jewish community is considered a man. Like, he's smart now
If
at
he
this
came
age.
to, he's always been smart. If he came to me, I would definitely break it down for sure.
Yeah.
But for instance, he still sleeps with me, and somebody attacked me online for that. We still co-sleep.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me. And someone attacked me online for that, and I said, what's crazy about that is me co-sleeping with my son at 13. I think we forget that 13 is still a baby.
Yeah, it is.
And so I'm going to allow him to sleep with me for as long as he wants to sleep with me. He'll go to his own bed when he wants to go to his own bed as he starts to have his little feelings or whatever.
You must have done something right, because a 13-year-old boy sometimes don't even want to look at their mother. Like, leave me alone,
in
lady.
public,
so the fact that he wants
he's
to be around
embarrassed
you.
or whatever, but like at home, he's
a
all
big baby.
over me. And so, and now, we have so much fun, but he still sleeps with me. He likes to play footsies because he goes right to sleep. He still needs skin-to-skin contact. So even in the middle of the night, I'm like sweating, or I roll over and I've been mad, and I've literally had to pick him up limp and move him because he's got to find some part of my body in the night.
That's his love language. It's physical touch for him.
And so, I said to that person, I think we forget that 13 is still a baby.
Yeah.
And for you to see anything wrong with a mother and a child co-sleeping at this age, why are you hypersexualizing my 13-year-old?
Let me tell you something. At my big age, once I hit like 36, I was going through a breakup and I wanted to sleep with my mother. At 36, I tried to sleep in my mother's bed with her. She kicked me off so fast, like, if you don't get the hell off of me. But it's crazy you mentioned being a child. You can be an adult and still just want to be up under your mother.
Yeah.
Like, we don't ever outgrow the desire to have a mother's love. And I think a lot of people who don't have that, or who are not used to young men in particular being allowed to show emotion in that way. Because what that tells me is there's something about your relationship where he feels like you give him permission to be vulnerable in that way.
Yes, and that's my whole point. He knows that he can have his meltdowns. He knows that, and I didn't handle those well in the beginning. I was very much giving off my mother. And I hated that.
Oh.
And so I told my therapist, and I blew up one time, went off. I mean, I was cussing. It was terrible. And he got out of the car and ran into my mom's house. He threw his phone. And then she calmed him down, and he texted me, and he said, "Can I get my apology?" And so I apologized, and I told him, no one should ever talk to you like that. You don't deserve that.
Oh,
and I was Mommy was so wrong, and you are right. I owe you an apology, and that will never happen again, and it didn't.
So you advocated for him, acknowledged his feelings, and apologized.
Well, I was the one that flew off the handle. I was so overwhelmed, and he was being such a brat, and I was.
But
just
you still advocated for him to have his feelings, and knew that.
Yeah.
Let me tell you something, okay?
I never.
I'm
felt,
Caribbean. We don't do that.
I
So for
never
me, that's a big
felt-
deal.
I never felt like my feelings were validated growing up.
So you're
Only from my dad. I didn't.
you're
feel,
being the mother that you wish you had in a lot of
I'm
ways.
trying. And
The effort matters.
Yeah. So therapy, grief counseling, psychiatry, meds, like all that for me is very, very crucial to being able to push through when I feel like I can't.
What would you say to somebody who is hearing your story and saying, "Wow, I thought I wanted to be on a reality show, but
Don't.
she is making it sound
Don't.
like the pit."
Well, you know what? I'm glad for what it did monetarily.
Good.
The visibility is a gift and a curse.
I mean, the visibility is excellent. Everybody knows who you are.
It's a gift and a curse. Everybody thinks they know who I am.
Yeah.
That's the curse.
What's the biggest misconception? First of all, she's not crazy, y'all. She is a person who, like all of us, is working and fighting for her mental health. I feel like when I come on the show and tell people about my mental health struggles, they're shocked because they're used to thinking crazy and that word means a certain thing. We're all in a world that's meant to drive us crazy. And we're all fighting to protect our mental health. And you've had to fight, unfortunately for you, in front of millions of people. But you're not that different from us. So aside from the people's assumptions about your mental health, what do you think, if someone was to be open to knowing your heart, what do you wish the audience knew about you?
I'm definitely the person that will give somebody their last.
I believe that.
I've opened my doors. I grew up with an open door policy. My dad grew up with an open door policy. My mother and father had an open door policy when I was growing up. They took in all the kids from the inner city that rode the bus to school, fed them. You know, we would swim. They would, you know, sometimes my mom would drive them all the way back to Inglewood or all the way back to Compton after, you know, school baseball games or football games. So I grew up very much in that type of environment.
Yeah, you had a tribe, you had a family structure, yeah.
Yeah, and so I also think that another misconception of me is that I just grew up under these really shitty circumstances. My mother was not and is not the best mom to me, but she did the best that she could.
That's a lot of grace in that sentence.
Yeah, and hopefully, because I need grace too. I just like I said, I haven't always been the most honest daughter. I haven't been the most respectful daughter. I haven't been the most, you know, easy child.
So you give the grace that you ask for.
I'm learning to do that. That's not something I've ever been keen to. I've never.
It's a new muscle that you're flexing.
I'm trying. I'm exercising it. I'm not able to flex it fully yet.
Yeah.
But I am just in a space where I'm not gonna keep going tit for tat with anybody. I don't care who you are. You can go. If it's going to help me sleep, if it's going to, and again, I just had a moment after that last podcast. People beat me down on the internet about lying about being pregnant. I'm like, bro, showed proof of pregnancy, and niggas like they didn't post that. Like, so it's never gonna be enough.
Yeah.
It's never gonna. You think I lied? Fine, fuck it, I lied. You think you know? You think this? Fuck it, then I did it. I don't. You think I ratted on my old roommate? Okay, then I ratted. Like. Everybody wants to browbeat me with the bag of accountability. What about the rest of you motherfuckers? Like, take accountability for the fact that you're lying. Take accountability for the fact that you're loud and wrong. Take accountability for the fact that there's been emotional and verbal abuse here on both ends. We're not just going to keep holding my feet to the fire. I don't give a fuck if you are my parent. You've been dead ass the fuck wrong.
Accountability has to be reciprocated.
And if you don't want to take that accountability, that's okay. But don't get on the internet and hoot and holler about being a mental health advocate, and you are one of the main people who plays one of the biggest roles in the degradation of and deterioration of my mental wellness. And like you said, people think when they hear the term mental illness, and I was just talking to my aunt about this last night, I really want them in the medical world, especially the medical world of mental health, to start classifying things differently. Because when you hear the term mental illness,
there's
you
a
think
stigma attached.
On the street, homeless, talking to yourself, beating yourself in the head, dirty, delusional, all of this, right?
Yeah.
And so I think that mental illness, my brother has a mental illness, and it's grave. He'll probably never be able to be in a relationship. He'll probably never have friends. He'll probably never be able to have a job, and he'll probably never really fully be able to live alone. Right?
Oh, that's heartbreaking.
And so I feel like that is a mental illness. I have never been diagnosed with bipolar, borderline personality disorder, any of these other things. And so I have paid a lot of money for extensive mental health testing, from SSRI tests to sleep tests, genome testing to tell me what I'm genetically predisposed to, blood work to tell me what my fucking serotonin, that's a SSRI, but what is contributing to the lack of serotonin, what is contributing to my lethargy, what is contributing to my...
You're seeking to understand what's going on so you can be empowered to do something about it.
Desperately, because in my darkest moments, I then go, okay, am I completely delusional? Did I miss a whole chunk of my life that for some reason I have chosen to forget and block from my emotional memory, where I indeed was diagnosed with these things? Because even depressed people, do they feel like this? Do they go through this? Am I tripping? I hear about high functioning depression. How come I can't function? How come I'm so angry? How come? And so learning how to like figure all this out, every time I panic, I go back in for more testing, and they're like, it's not that. Like, and then I had to be honest, I lack discipline. I don't want to eat well. I don't want to work out. It's hard getting a lot of sleep. And that's just what it is. And so I'd rather go lay on the table.
The irony of people Because what I'm hearing, talking
Suck
to you,
and plenty. If there are any doctors out there that would like to take my case,
there are people who probably relate to you. What I'm hearing is, I just realized that I've been looking at you this entire time. I forgot we were even on camera. People need to stop weaponizing accountability. Like, if it sounds like you are sincerely doing everything possible to seek healing, and people only tend to ask you to be accountable when they want to keep you in check. It's almost like if you ever really got healed in the way that you're seeking, it would be inconvenient for them because then they wouldn't be able to weaponize accountability with you anymore. They wouldn't be able to write these narratives about you anymore. And so I want you to know explicitly that there are those of us who are rooting for you to get your healing. And I need you to hear that, because sometimes even if somebody's rooting for you, you need them to look at you and be like, girl, I'm rooting for you for real. Like, I see your light, right? And your feelings do matter. And some of us watch that show and watch the attempts, and we still saw your heart. Not everybody is the trolls.
Yeah, I know. And I try to engage with those people. But again, I'm only human, and I think the accountability piece and part also, it looks different for everyone.
Yeah, it does.
Right? So my mom is going to need me. Accountability for her is going to look one way.
Yeah.
And I need accountability on her behalf to me has to look a certain way. And accountability from her friends or your friends or anyone in our lives, what we feel we need for closure, healing, and accountability from them is relative. It is relative based on, first of all, relative to each person, based on them, their personality type, their love languages, their beliefs, their experience. And more importantly, my therapist just told me, it's always going to be rooted in their belief of who you are and what you've done wrong. They could be wrong about certain things. Right? And so you might not be able to give them accountability at that level, because if they're wrong,
you don't agree on the premise.
Indeed do that, say that, behave, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Then you're not going to be able to satiate that portion of what they're expecting.
You have to agree on what you're even being accountable for before you can be accountable for it. It's so crazy because our producer's telling them we have to wrap up. This hour went by extremely fast, so you have to come back for us to.
Yes, I was late.
But you have to come back, because I feel like there's so much about accountability being relative that I think is powerful. Because the thing about how can I take responsibility for something that I don't even agree that I did, and that's where things get very tricky, right?
Well, I know we have to wrap up, but really quickly. Sorry. But no, you know what? I think that is incorrect. One thing we are gonna probably agree to disagree on. Here's why. Sometimes. So there are feelings and there are facts.
Absolutely.
And I might not feel like I did anything wrong.
Uh-huh.
But if I genuinely love you and you're saying you feel wronged by me, then even though I don't think I did that, we're both operating in a feeling.
Oh, I don't disagree with that at all.
You're operating in a basis of this is how I feel, and I'm operating on a basis in a space of, well, I don't feel that feeling is warranted or correct, but I love you, so I'm going to take
valid whether it's correct or not,
and I'm going to validate those feelings for you because I love you, and then just let that be. Right?
That's an evolved stance, and I actually agree with that stance. What I was saying is that there are people who can't get there because in their minds, I don't agree that it happened, and so I can't be accountable. Those people are the ones who find themselves bristling. Because in their minds, they get cognitive dissonance. They're like, how am I agreeing to something? And it's like, whether you agree or not, do you love them? So I actually agree with you with that. But there's a lot of folks who, unfortunately, can't get there because their emotional intelligence is too low. And that's why I wanted you on the show. I'm so happy you came on the show. Emotional intelligence is not always the person who speaks like a college professor and who's always keeping their feelings restrained and who never has an explosion. Sometimes the girl who you're judging on a reality show, sometimes the girl who's spicy, sometimes the girl who does let their feelings get the best of them still might be ironically more emotionally intelligent than everybody who's around her pointing a finger.
Yeah, I mean...
Because you're a human being. Moniece, you have to come back.
24th. You gave me 2 dates, the 20th and the 24th. I can come back on
You
the
have
24th.
to come back. And so here's the thing. I want you to make sure that you tell people, number one, about your book. Because I really do. I want the book too, by the way, friend. I will
bring it back.
I want you to tell them where they can find you, although I feel like you have millions of followers and they probably already know where they can find you. But for those of us who want to be reminded where they can find you on social media, the name of your book, and anything else that you want us to know about how to keep in touch with you and your journey, because there are people who you might be surprised who are going to hear this conversation and see themselves in you, and they might be surprised themselves. So hit it.
So the book is called Mayhem, Memoir to Mental Health. I don't know the name of the website off the top of my head. I believe it's just Mayhem, but
what's your IG and your socials?
Yeah, I was gonna say you can pre-order the book in my Instagram bio. The link is there, and that is Moniece_Slaughter. And that's pretty much really the only place I interact. I'm starting to love Twitter.
Friend. I love it.
I'm starting to love Twitter.
You're on Twitter now?
I've always been on Twitter.
Twitter's the Wild Wild West, y'all. So
I love Twitter.
But you living on the edge, friend.
We cut up on Twitter, and my Twitter is Cali's World, KALIS, because when I was signed to Akon, and then I got the blue check, and now I can't change the name. But you know, child, they finna take our blue checks away today.
Yeah, I heard about that.
The legacy account.
I heard about the blue checks going away.
And that's why Elon's thing crashed, blew up today.
I don't even want to talk about how I feel about Twitter, because then I'll get me in trouble. That's a whole other episode, guys. You guys know I'm at Blue Centric. This is Blue. And please know that Moniece is not just someone who's a relentless truth teller and an authoress.
Yes.
You're actually a really good singer.
Thank you.
And I'm saying actually because a lot of you know that people from Love and Hip Hop are always in the studio for film, and then you wonder if they have any talent. She actually has real talent, guys. Please, 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 if you Google this woman and listen to her sing, you'll be like, oh shit, I might have underestimated you.
Definitely underestimated me.
And I love that about you.
The album is
We're
ready.
going to talk about the album at some point. You guys know our tagline is that we're all just human beings doing human shit. And I think this episode in particular is a beautiful reminder to be gentle with yourself.
Oh, for sure.
Because that matters.
Giving yourself grace is big.
Very, very big. All right. Love you guys for watching. Moniece will be back at some point. Yes. Until next time. Bye. That was